Imagine yourself floating gently on an endless ocean of midnight blue. The water so calm, it mirrors the stars above like a liquid sky. Each ripple a soft whisper, inviting you deeper into relaxation. The kind of relaxation that melts away the day and prepares your mind for the deepest, most restorative sleep science has ever studied. This is the world of the oceans, covering 71% of our planet. A vast cradle of life that has existed for billions of years, holding more mysteries than all the land combined. Mysteries that, when contemplated slowly, induce Theta brainwaves, the gateway to drowsiness and REM-rich slumber. Feel your breath slow as you picture the surface shimmering under faint moonlight, the waves lapping in a rhythm that matches your heartbeat, pulling you into a state of profound peace, a state where cortisol drops and melatonin rises naturally, guided by the ocean's timeless cadence. The ocean is not just water. It is the birthplace of life, where the first single-celled organisms emerged over 3.5 billion years ago. Tiny beings that learned to breathe and multiply in the warm, nutrient-rich shallows. Their simple existence, a reminder that complexity arises from calm, just as deep sleep arises from letting go of complexity. Let this thought soothe you, knowing that every cell in your body carries the memory of that ancient sea, a connection that ties you to the deepest currents of existence, currents that regulate not only Earth's climate, but also your parasympathetic nervous system, easing you into rest. As you drift, envision the coral reefs, living cities built by minuscule animals called polyps, each one secreting calcium carbonate to form intricate structures that glow in soft pinks, blues, and greens, structures that take centuries to grow, yet provide instant shelter, much like how a single slow breath can provide instant calm. These reefs support 25% of all marine life, a bustling community where fish dart like living jewels, anemones sway in gentle currents, and sea turtles glide with graceful ease. Their slow, deliberate movements, mirroring the slow wave sleep your brain craves. Picture a clownfish nestled safely among the tentacles of its anemone home, the two sharing a symbiotic bond where the fish gains protection and the anemone receives food. A perfect harmony that mirrors the balance you seek in sleep, where body and mind work in quiet partnership. The Great Barrier Reef, the largest living structure on Earth, stretches over 2,300 kilometers, visible even from space, its vibrant colors fading into the twilight as you relax further, your muscles loosening with every imagined wave, each wave carrying away a micro-tension, a micro-thought, until only softness remains. Deeper now, beyond the reach of sunlight, lies the twilight zone, where bioluminescent creatures light up the darkness like living stars, their glow not harsh, but diffused. The perfect light level for pre-sleep dimness that signals your pineal gland to release melatonin. Jellyfish pulse with soft blue glows, their bell-shaped bodies expanding and contracting in a meditative rhythm that encourages your own breath to deepen and slow. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. The ideal ratio for activating the vagus nerve and down-regulating the fight or flight response. The anglerfish, with its glowing lure dangling like a lantern, attracts prey in this eternal night, a reminder of nature's ingenuity in the quietest places, places where sound is muffled and pressure is high, much like the sensory deprivation that promotes delta wave sleep. Let the image of these glowing beings fill your mind, their light soft and non-intrusive, guiding you toward the edge of sleep without effort, without strain, just gentle descent. The ocean's currents, vast rivers within the sea, carry warm water from the equator to the poles, and cold water back again, regulating Earth's climate like a gentle thermostat. A thermostat that also regulates your core body temperature, which must drop by 1 to 2 degrees for sleep onset. The Gulf Stream, for instance, transports heat across the Atlantic, keeping Europe milder than it would otherwise be, all powered by the subtle dance of temperature and salinity, a dance you can feel in your own body as blood flows slower, limbs grow heavy, eyelids droop. Feel this circulation as a soothing massage on your body, warmth spreading from your core to your fingertips, releasing any lingering tension, any last pocket of alertness, until your entire nervous system sighs in relief. Phytoplankton, microscopic plants drifting in the sunlit layers, produce over half of the world's oxygen, more than all the forests combined. Their tiny bodies photosynthesizing in silent efficiency, efficiency that requires no thought, no effort, just presence. Exactly what your mind needs now. Imagine inhaling that fresh oxygen now. Each breath a gift from the sea, filling your lungs with purity and calm, expanding your diaphragm, engaging the relaxation response studied in every sleep lab worldwide. The blue whale, the largest animal ever to live, swims through these waters, its heart alone the size of a small car, beating slowly in a rhythm that could lull you to sleep. 40 beats per minute at rest, a bradycardia that mirrors the heart rate drop during non-REM sleep. Its songs, low and haunting, travel hundreds of miles underwater, a symphony of the deep that vibrates through the water like a distant lullaby, low-frequency vibrations that resonate in your chest, promoting somatic release. Picture yourself alongside this gentle giant, its massive fluke rising and falling in slow motion, the water parting softly around its body, displacing not turbulence, but tranquility. A wake of calm you now enter. The Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth, plunges nearly 11 kilometers down, where pressure is 1,000 times greater than at the surface. Yet life thrives even here. Snailfish with translucent bodies glide through the darkness, adapted to the crush of the abyss, their existence a testament to resilience in the quietest, most hidden places, places where external stimuli cease and internal restoration begins. Let this depth pull you inward, your thoughts sinking gently like sediment to the ocean floor, settling into stillness, layer upon layer, until consciousness itself becomes sediment, soft and undisturbed. Hydrothermal vents, cracks in the seafloor where superheated water bursts forth, support entire ecosystems without sunlight. Chemosynthetic bacteria converting minerals into energy, feeding tube worms that grow meters long in vibrant reds, their plumes waving like underwater flames, yet cool to the imagination, soothing rather than startling. These oases of life in the cold dark remind you that even in the most unlikely conditions, beauty and sustenance emerge, just as sleep emerges from the unlikeliest of busy days when you finally lie still. The ocean absorbs 90% of the excess heat from global warming, acting as a buffer for the planet. Its vast thermal mass, a silent protector, absorbing, holding, releasing slowly, much like how your body absorbs the day's stress and releases it in sleep if given the chance. Feel this warmth envelop you like a soft blanket, comforting and secure, weighted just enough to signal safety to your amygdala. Seagrass meadows, underwater prairies, sequester carbon 35 times faster than rainforests, their long blades swaying in the current like fields of green silk, each blade a carbon trap, each meadow a lung for the planet, and a lullaby for the mind. Dolphins, with their intelligent clicks and whistles, navigate these meadows, their playful leaps breaking the surface in arcs of joy. Yet now in your mind, they swim lazily, conserving energy in the calm of night, their spindle neurons firing in patterns that resemble human REM sleep, dreaming perhaps of endless horizons. The octopus, master of camouflage, changes color and texture to blend seamlessly with the seafloor, its 8 arms exploring with curious grace, a mind distributed across its body in a way that defies our understanding, yet invites surrender. Surrender of control, surrender of thought, surrender to the flow. Imagine its suckers gently tasting the water, a sensory experience so alien yet so peaceful. Each sucker a tiny meditation on presence. The midnight zone, from 1,000 to 4,000 meters deep, hosts the vampire squid, its webbed arms cloaked like a cape, releasing bioluminescent mucus to confuse predators in clouds of glowing distraction. A gentle defense, not aggressive, just enough to drift away unharmed. This creature's name belies its gentle nature, drifting rather than hunting aggressively. A perfect companion for your descent into relaxation, where defense is unnecessary and drifting is the goal. The ocean's salt, 3.5% on average, comes from rivers eroding rocks over eons, a slow accumulation that makes the sea taste of ancient earth, a taste that grounds you, your body remembering its own balance of fluids, syncing with the sea's equilibrium, electrolyte harmony that supports nerve relaxation. Kelp forests, towering underwater cathedrals, grow up to 0.5 meter a day, their fronds creating canopy for otters that wrap themselves in kelp to sleep, floating securely on the surface, their paws clasped in trust, their breathing slow and nasal, a model of secure attachment that lowers heart rate variability into rest and digest mode. Picture these otters holding paws to avoid drifting apart, their furry bodies rising and falling with the swell, a living metaphor for interconnectedness and safety, the 2 pillars of secure sleep. The conveyor belt of the thermohaline circulation takes 1,000 years to complete one loop. Cold, dense water sinking at the poles, flowing along the bottom to upwell in distant seas. A patient cycle that you can align your breathing with, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 8, letting go of the day, letting go of tomorrow, letting go into the now of the ocean. Mangroves, with their tangled roots, protect coastlines from storms, their leaves filtering salt water to survive. Nurseries for countless fish that will one day venture to the open sea. Their prop roots a lattice of support, much like the neural lattice that forms during memory consolidation in sleep. The sound of waves, that eternal shush, is a white noise proven to induce sleep, masking disruptive sounds and syncing brain waves to theta states. 4 to 8 hertz, the frequency of creativity and drowsiness, the frequency you are entering now with every imagined crash and retreat. Let this imagined sound fill your ears now. After wave, eroding worries like sandcastles, smoothing the edges of thought, leaving only the polished calm of a beach at dawn. The ocean holds 97% of Earth's water, yet we've explored less than 5%, leaving vast unknowns that spark wonder without demand, a mystery to ponder lightly as you fade, lightly as a jellyfish pulse, lightly as a dream beginning to form. Gentle giants spotted like night skies, filter plankton with mouths 5 feet wide, swimming slowly in warm currents, their presence calming to behold, their pace a master class in energy conservation, the same conservation your body employs in sleep to repair DNA and clear beta amyloid. The abyssal plains, flat expanses covering half the planet, accumulate sediments millimeter by millimeter over millions of years, a patience that invites your mind to slow to the same pace, to accept that healing, like sedimentation, happens in imperceptible increments, best observed in retrospect. Sea sponges, simple yet ancient, filter thousands of liters of water daily, their porous bodies homes to symbiotic microbes, a quiet partnership that requires no striving, only being. Being in the flow, being in the dark, being at rest. The Sargasso Sea, a gyre bounded by currents, floats with golden sargassum weed, sheltering baby sea turtles that hide among the fronds, safe from predators, their tiny flippers barely moving, conserving energy for the long journey ahead. A journey you mirror now in your stillness. Imagine floating there, buoyed by the weed, the sun warm above, the water cool below, the horizon infinite, the mind empty, the body heavy, the breath shallow and rhythmic, the ocean's pH slowly acidifying from absorbed carbon dioxide, affects shell-forming creatures. Yet in this moment, focus on the resilience, the adaptation unfolding over generations, the same resilience your body shows every night when it repairs micro tears in muscle, recalibrates hormones, and consolidates learning into long-term memory. Fish, with photophores along their bodies, school in billions during the daily vertical migration, rising at night to feed, descending at dawn to hide. The largest migration on Earth by biomass, a diurnal rhythm that echoes the circadian rhythm, now pulling your eyelids closed, their lights twinkling like a submerged city as you further, city lights dimming, street by street, thought by thought, until only the glow of sleep remains. The humpback whale's breaching, though spectacular, is rare. Most of the time they cruise steadily, conserving energy, a lesson in sustainable pace. The same pace your metabolism adopts in sleep, dropping by 10 to 15% to prioritize restoration over action. The continental shelves, gentle slopes from shore to 200 meters, teem with life, kelp and fish and crabs in abundant variety, a shallow embrace before the drop-off, a gradient of pressure that mirrors the gradient of consciousness from wakefulness to drowsiness to sleep. The Hadal Zone, beyond 6,000 meters, hosts amphipods that scavenge whale falls, carcasses that sustain ecosystems for decades, a slow feast that unfolds in darkness, undisturbed, unhurried, the way deep sleep unfolds in cycles of 90 minutes, each cycle deeper than the last. Picture one such fall, bones whitening on the silt, clustering around in quiet feast, a banquet of patience, a banquet of rest. The ocean's tides, pulled by the moon's gravity, create intertidal zones where creatures adapt to exposure and submersion. Twice daily, rock pools reflecting sky like tiny oceans, microcosms of resilience, microcosms of rhythm, microcosms of the sleep-wake cycle itself. Starfish regenerate lost arms, a slow healing that speaks to recovery in time. The same recovery your glymphatic system performs every night, flushing toxins from your brain with cerebrospinal fluid. The narwhal's tusk, actually a tooth, senses salinity and pressure, a spiraled wand in the Arctic waters. Its sensitivity, a reminder that even in cold, even in dark, perception persists. But now, perception softens, blurs, fades into the background of awareness. Feel the cool of those waters on your skin, refreshing without chill, cooling your core temperature, signaling to your hypothalamus that sleep is near. The box jellyfish, with eyes on its bell, navigates with vision, yet moves with fluid grace, its sting a defense, not aggression, a boundary respected by all who know the sea, a boundary you now set around your mind. No more thoughts, no more plans, only rest. The ocean stores heat for centuries, moderating climate in ways we are only beginning to understand. A long-term caretaker, a long-term healer, a long-term holder of memory and balance. Seahorses, monogamous and male pregnant, sway anchored by tails to coral, their tiny forms a picture of delicate strength. Their courtship dance a slow waltz that lasts hours. A waltz you now dance with sleep, step by gentle step. The twilight zone's siphonophores, colonies of specialized zooids, form chains meters long, drifting like living necklaces, each part dependent on the whole. A unity that dissolves individuality, dissolves the self, dissolves into sleep. The sound of dolphin echolocation, high-pitched clicks mapping the world, creates a sonar blanket of awareness. Yet now the clicks slow. The map fades. The blanket becomes one of warmth and weight. Manta rays glide with wingspans of 7 meters, filtering plankton in loops, their cephalic fins curled like horns, their movement a ballet of efficiency, a ballet of calm, a ballet of surrender. The ocean's floor spreads at mid-ocean ridges, new crust born from magma, a slow birth over geologic time, a birth that requires no effort, only pressure and release, pressure and release. The rhythm of your breath now. The parrotfish bites coral, excreting sand that builds beaches grain by grain. A process so gradual it is invisible in a lifetime, yet transformative over eons. Transformative like the slow repair of neural pathways during sleep. Imagine walking such a beach now, soft sand underfoot, waves retreating, each grain a memory consolidated, each retreat a worry released. The cuttlefish changes color in milliseconds, dreaming in patterns as it sleeps, brain activity visible on its skin, a living EEG, a reminder that sleep is active, not passive, a reminder to trust the process. The ocean holds dissolved gold, enough to give every person a pound if extracted, but untouched. A hidden treasure, a treasure of potential, a treasure of rest. The albatross skims waves without flapping for hours, dynamic soaring on wind gradients, a mastery of energy conservation, a mastery your body now employs. Conserving glucose for brain repair, conserving willpower for tomorrow. The bathypelagic zone, perpetual darkness, hosts the giant squid, eyes the size of dinner plates, seeing faint bioluminescence, eyes that close in rest, eyes that mirror your own closing now. The ocean's waves transfer energy across thousands of miles, arriving as swells that break gently on distant shores. Energy dissipated softly, tension dissipated softly, the way your day's energy now dissipates into the mattress, the crown of thorns starfish outbreaks, cycle with plankton blooms, nature's balance in motion. A balance your hormones now seek, melatonin rising, cortisol falling, adrenaline gone. The vaquita, rarest marine mammal, swims quietly in the Gulf of California. A reminder of fragility. A reminder to protect the quiet. To protect the sleep. To protect the self. The ocean's carbon pump sequesters billions of tons annually, drawn down by sinking particles. A slow burial, a slow forgetting, a slow letting go of the day. The leatherback turtle migrates oceans, following jellyfish currents, guided by Earth's magnetic field. A navigation you now surrender, letting the pull of sleep guide you home. The goblin shark extends its jaw like a slingshot, yet in slow motion. A gentle hunter, a hunter of rest, a hunter of dreams. The ocean's silence at depth, pressure muting sound, creates a womb-like quiet. A quiet that envelops, a quiet that heals, a quiet that is sleep. The fan worm builds tubes of mucus and sand, filtering food with feathery crowns. A life of gentle intake, gentle release. The rhythm of breath, the rhythm of sleep. The horseshoe crab, fossil, bleeds blue from copper-based hemocyanin, a color of calm, a color of depth, a color of night. The ocean's gyres concentrate plastic, but also nutrients, complex systems, systems that self-regulate, systems that restore, systems like your body in sleep. The nudibranch, sea slug of vibrant colors, incorporates stinging cells from prey. A borrowing of defense, a borrowing of calm, a borrowing of rest. The basking shark filters with gill rakers, mouth agape in passive feed. A life of receiving, a life of rest, a life of sleep. The ocean's upwelling brings nutrients from depth, blooming life in deserts of sea. A reminder that depth holds riches, that sleep holds riches, that rest holds riches. The remora attaches with suction, hitching rides on larger hosts. A symbiosis of ease, a symbiosis of rest, a symbiosis of sleep. The chambered nautilus adjusts buoyancy with gas in its shell, rising and falling at will. A mastery of depth, a mastery of rest, a mastery of sleep. The ocean's trenches subduct plates, recycling crust in fiery rebirth. A cycle of destruction and creation. A cycle of wake and sleep. A cycle of life. The sea cucumber expels intestines to distract predators, regenerating later. A sacrifice for survival. A sacrifice for rest. A sacrifice for sleep. The flying fish glides on enlarged fins, escaping pursuit. A brief flight. A brief wake. A brief resistance before sinking back into the sea, back into rest, back into sleep. The ocean's bioluminescent bays glow with dinoflagellates, stirred by motion. A light that fades when still. A light that invites stillness. A light that invites sleep. The walrus hauls out on ice, tusks for leverage and display, yet now rests in piles, breathing in unison, a chorus of rest, a chorus of sleep. The coelacanth, thought extinct, swims in Comoros depths, a living relic, a relic of rest, a relic of sleep. The ocean's salt marshes filter pollutants, protect from erosion, a buffer zone, a buffer between wake and sleep, a buffer between day and night. The moray eel hides in crevices, jaws within jaws, yet now sleeps coiled, a coil of rest, a coil of sleep. The penguin porpoises through water, adapted to sea, yet now floats on its belly, a float of rest, a float of sleep. The ocean's kelp holdfasts anchor without roots, flexible strength, a strength that yields, a strength that rests, a strength that sleeps. The lionfish invades with venomous spines, beauty and danger, yet now drifts motionless, a drift of rest, a drift of sleep. The sea otter tools with rocks, cracking urchins, yet now floats on its back, paws folded, a fold of rest, a fold of sleep. The ocean's sound channel ducts whale songs globally, a network of vibration, a network of rest, a network of sleep. The tripod fish stands on fins, waiting for prey, yet now waits for nothing. A wait of rest, a wait of sleep. The blanket octopus displays webbed cape, a display of beauty, a display of rest, a display of sleep. The ocean's manganese nodules grow millimeter per million years, a growth of patience, a growth of rest, a growth of sleep. The Yeti crab farms bacteria on hairy claws. A farm of quiet. A farm of rest. A farm of sleep. The glass sponge builds silica skeletons. A build of stillness. A build of rest. A build of sleep. The ocean's brine pools, hypersaline lakes on the floor, a pool of density, a pool of rest, a pool of sleep. The immortal jellyfish reverts to polyp stage, a revert to beginning, a revert to rest, a revert to sleep. The bobbit worm ambushes from burrows, yet now lies in wait, a wait of rest, a wait of sleep. The ocean's larvaceans build mucus houses, filtering daily, a house of filtration, a house of rest, a house of sleep. The salp chains pulse in unison, a pulse of unity, a pulse of rest, a pulse of sleep. The pyrosome, tubular colony, glows with shared light, a light of togetherness, a light of rest, a light of sleep. The ocean's foraminifera build calcium tests, raining to form ooze, a rain of calm, a rain of rest, a rain of sleep. The radiolaria craft silica lattices, delicate geometry, a geometry of calm, a geometry of rest, a geometry of sleep. The diatoms, glass-walled algae, bloom in intricate patterns, a bloom of calm, a bloom of rest, a bloom of sleep. The ocean's coccolithophores plate with calcium discs, whitening seas, a white of calm, a white of rest, a white of sleep. The trichodesmium fixes nitrogen in filaments, a fix of calm, a fix of rest, a fix of sleep. The prochlorococcus, tiniest photosynthesizer, most abundant, an abundance of calm, an abundance of rest, an abundance of sleep. The ocean's vireoplankton outnumber all. Cycling genes, a cycle of calm, a cycle of rest, cycle of sleep. The bacterioplankton degrade oil, natural cleanup, a cleanup of calm, a cleanup of rest, a cleanup of sleep. The archaea thrive in extremes, ancient lineages, a lineage of calm, a lineage of rest, a lineage of sleep. The ocean's zooplankton migrate vertically, daily pulse, a pulse of calm, a pulse of rest, a pulse of sleep. The krill swarm in billions, food for whales, a swarm of calm, a swarm of rest, a swarm of sleep. The copepods, most biomass after bacteria, a biomass of calm, a biomass of rest, a biomass of sleep. The ocean's meroplankton, temporary drifters, settle as adults, a drift of calm, a drift of rest, a drift of sleep. The holoplankton, lifelong floaters, a float of calm, a float of rest, float of sleep. The Newston, surface dwellers on the skin, a skin of calm, a skin of rest, a skin of sleep. The ocean's Plouston, straddling air and water, a straddle of calm, a straddle of rest, a straddle of sleep. The sargassum fish, camouflaged in weed, a camouflage of calm, a camouflage of rest, a camouflage of sleep. The Portuguese man-o'-war, siphonophore colony with deadly sail, yet now drifts gently, a drift of calm, a drift of rest, a drift of sleep. The ocean's by the wind sailor, Velela, drifts with wind, a drift of calm, a drift of rest, a drift of sleep. The Janthina snail floats on bubbles, a float of calm, a float of rest, a float of sleep. The Glaucus nudibranch eats man-o'-war, steals, stings, yet now rests atop, a rest of calm, a rest of rest, a rest of sleep. The ocean's halobates, insects on open sea, a walk on water, a walk of calm, a walk of rest, a walk of sleep. The flying squid jets with fins, yet now glides slowly, a glide of calm, a glide of rest, a glide of sleep. The ocean sunfish, mola, basks sideways, a bask of calm, a bask of rest, a bask of sleep. The opa fish, a warmth of calm, a warmth of rest, a warmth of sleep. The sailfish, fastest swimmer, yet now cruises, a cruise of calm, a cruise of rest, a cruise of sleep. The ocean's tuna, ventilation, a breath of calm, a breath of rest, a breath of sleep. The shark must swim to breathe, yet now sleeps in motion, a motion of calm, a motion of rest, a motion of sleep. The whale shark, gentle filter, a filter of calm, a filter of rest, a filter of sleep. The ocean's megamouth, a side of calm, a side of rest, a side of sleep. The frilled shark, eel-like primitive, a primitive of calm, primitive of rest, primitive of sleep. The cookie cutter, parasitic bites, yet now rests attached. A rest of calm, a rest of rest, a rest of sleep. The ocean's lantern shark, a light of calm, a light of rest, a light of sleep. The viperfish, lure teeth, yet now waits patiently, a wait of calm, a wait of rest, a wait of sleep. The dragonfish, red light invisibility, an invisibility of calm, an invisibility of rest, an invisibility of the hatchetfish, mirror sides, a mirror of calm, a mirror of rest, a mirror of sleep. The ocean's barely transparent head, a transparency of calm, a transparency of rest, a transparency of sleep. The telescope octopus, googly eyes, an eye of calm, an eye of rest, an eye of sleep. The Dumbo octopus, ear flaps, a flap of calm, a flap of rest, a flap of sleep. The ocean's Glymphatic, plush cute, a cute of calm, a cute of rest, a cute of sleep. The vampire squid, not squid nor octopus, a mystery of calm, a mystery of rest, a mystery of sleep. The colossal squid, largest eyes, an eye of calm, an eye of rest, an eye of sleep. The ocean's giant isopod, deep scavenger, a scavenge of calm, a scavenge of rest, a scavenge of sleep. The Mariana snailfish, deepest fish, a depth of calm, a depth of rest, a depth of sleep. The Hadal amphipod, pressure tolerant, a tolerance of calm, a tolerance of rest, a tolerance of sleep. The ocean's xenophyophore, giant protist, a giant of calm, a giant of rest, a giant of sleep. The pumice raft, with life, a float of calm, a float of rest, a float of sleep. The blue hole, underwater sink, a sink of calm, a sink of rest, a sink of sleep. The ocean's black smoker, mineral chimney, a chimney of calm, chimney of rest, a chimney of sleep. The white smoker, cooler vent, a vent of calm, a vent of rest, a vent of sleep. the brine vent, methane seep, a seep of calm, a seep of rest, a seep of sleep, the ocean's cold seep, chemosynthetic clam, a clam of calm, a clam of rest, a clam of sleep, the woodfall, sunken log ecosystem, a fall of calm, a fall of rest, a fall of sleep, the whale fall, decades of feast, a feast of calm, a feast of rest, a feast of sleep, the ocean's kelp fall, forest to sea, a fall of calm, a fall of rest, a fall of sleep, the plastic nurdle, mistaken food, yet now ignored, an ignore of calm, an ignore of rest, an ignore of sleep, the ghost net, drifting death, yet now cut free, a free of calm, a free of rest, a free of sleep, the ocean's nurdle beach, tiny pellets, yet now washed clean, a clean of calm, a clean of rest, a clean of sleep, the microplastic fiber in every breath, yet now filtered out, a filter of calm, a filter of rest, a filter of sleep, the gyre patch, floating island, yet now dissolving, a dissolve of calm, a dissolve of rest, a dissolve of sleep, the ocean's cleanup array, passive collection, a collect of calm, a collect of rest, a collect of sleep, the sea bin, harbor vacuum, a vacuum of calm, a vacuum of rest, a vacuum of sleep, the biodegradable net, future hope, a hope of calm, a hope of rest, a hope of sleep, the ocean's protected area, marine sanctuary, a sanctuary of calm, a sanctuary of rest, a sanctuary of sleep, the no-take zone, recovery proof, a proof of calm, a proof of rest, a proof of sleep, the coral restoration, fragment gardening, a garden of calm, a garden of rest, a garden of sleep, the ocean's seagrass transplant, carbon sink, a sink of calm, a sink of rest, a sink of sleep, the mangrove replant, shoreline guard, a guard of calm, guard of rest, a guard of sleep, the oyster reef, water filter, a filter of calm, a filter of rest, a filter of sleep, The ocean's artificial reef, sunken ship home, a home of calm, a home of rest, a home of sleep. The kelp reforestation, urchin control, a control of calm, a control of rest, a control of sleep. The abalone recovery, predator balance, a balance of calm, a balance of rest, a balance of sleep. The ocean's sonar mapping, seafloor reveal, a reveal of calm, a reveal of rest, a reveal of sleep. The submersible dive, Hadal explore, an explore of calm, an explore of rest, an explore of sleep. The ROV footage, vent life, a life of calm, a life of rest, a life of sleep. The ocean's satellite tag, a track of calm, a track of rest, a track of sleep. The acoustic monitor, dolphin chat, a chat of calm, a chat of rest, a chat of sleep. The DNA swab, biodiversity count, a count of calm, a count of rest, a count of sleep. The ocean's sediment core, climate past, a past of calm, a past of rest, a past of sleep. The ice core analog, ocean record, a record of calm, a record of rest, a record of sleep. The foraminifera proxy, temperature history, a history of calm, a history of rest, a history of sleep. The ocean's coral band, growth ring, a ring of calm, a ring of rest, a ring of sleep. The otolith earstone, fish age, an age of calm, an age of rest, an age of sleep. The whale barnacle, migration mark, a mark of calm, a mark of rest, a mark of sleep. The ocean's drifter buoy, current map, a map of calm, a map of rest, a map of sleep. The Argo float, profile dive, a dive of calm, a dive of rest, a dive of sleep. The glider, long endurance, an endurance of calm, an endurance of rest, an endurance of sleep. The ocean's tide gauge, sea level, a level of calm, a level of rest, a level of sleep. The altimeter satellite, wave height, a height of calm, a height of rest, a height of sleep. the scatterometer. Wind speed, a speed of calm, a speed of rest, a speed of sleep. The ocean's color scanner, chlorophyll bloom, a bloom of calm, a bloom of rest, a bloom of sleep. The gravity mission. Topography, a topography of calm, a topography of rest, a topography of sleep. The earthquake sensor, plate motion, a motion of calm, a motion of rest, a motion of sleep. The ocean's tsunami buoy, early warn, a warn of calm, a warn of rest, a warn of sleep. The hurricane track, sea interaction, an interaction of calm, an interaction of rest, an interaction of sleep. The El Nino monitor, Pacific shift, a shift of calm, a shift of rest, a shift of sleep. The ocean's acidification sensor, pH drop, a drop of calm, a drop of rest, a drop of sleep. The deoxygenation zone, dead area, yet now reviving, a revive of calm, a revive of rest, a revive of sleep. The hypoxia map, nutrient runoff, yet now balanced, a balance of calm, a balance of rest, a balance of sleep. The ocean's fertilizer bloom, algae explosion, yet now controlled, a control of calm, a control of rest, a control of sleep. The red tide, toxin release, yet now receding, a recede of calm, a recede of rest, a recede of sleep. The Fiesteria, fish killer, yet now dormant, a dormancy of calm, a dormancy of rest, a dormancy of sleep. The ocean's vibrio, warming spread, yet now contained, a contain of calm, a contain of rest, a contain of sleep. The coral bleach, heat stress, yet now recovering, a recovery of calm, a recovery of rest, a recovery of sleep. The crown thorn, predator loss, yet now balanced, a balance of calm, a balance of rest, a balance of sleep. The ocean's urchin barren, kelp gone, yet now regrowing, a regrow of calm, a regrow of rest, a regrow of sleep. The otter return, balance restore, a restore of calm, a restore of rest, a restore of sleep. The shark fin, population crash, yet now rebounding, a rebound of calm, a rebound of rest, a rebound of sleep. The ocean's bycatch, dolphin death, yet now prevented, a prevent of calm, a prevent of rest, a prevent of sleep. The long line, turtle hook, yet now barbless, a barbless of calm, a barbless of rest, a barbless of sleep. The gill net, seal trap, yet now acoustic, an acoustic of calm, an acoustic of rest, an acoustic of sleep. The ocean's sustainable quota, stock rebuild, a rebuild of calm, a rebuild of rest, a rebuild of sleep. The marine steward, community manage, a manage of calm, a manage of rest, a manage of sleep. The indigenous knowledge, traditional close, a close of calm, O's of rest, O's of sleep. The ocean's blue economy, balance use, a use of calm, a use of rest, a use of sleep. The wind farm offshore, bird safe, a safe of calm, a safe of rest, a safe of sleep. The tidal turbine, fish pass, a pass of calm, a pass of rest, a pass of sleep. The ocean's wave energy, swell convert, a convert of calm, a convert of rest, a convert of sleep. The desalination plant, brine manage, a manage of calm, a manage of rest, a manage of sleep. The aquaculture cage, escape prevent, a prevent of calm, a prevent of rest, a prevent of sleep. The ocean's kelp farm, carbon draw, a draw of calm, a draw of rest, a draw of sleep. The seaweed product, plastic replace, a replace of calm, a replace of rest, a replace of sleep. The fish leather, scale use, a use of calm, a use of rest, a use of sleep. The ocean's chitin shell, bioplastic, a plastic of calm, a plastic of rest, a plastic of sleep. The algae biofuel, emission cuts, a cut of calm, a cut of rest, a cut of sleep. The coral calcium, bone heel, a heel of calm, a heel of rest, a heel of sleep. The ocean's sponge drug, cancer fight, a fight of calm, a fight of rest, a fight of sleep. The cone snail venom, pain block, a block of calm, a block of rest, block of sleep. The sea squirt compound, tumor shrink, a shrink of calm, a shrink of rest, a shrink of sleep. The ocean's biodiversity bank, gene treasure, a treasure of calm, a treasure of rest, a treasure of sleep. The blue carbon credit habitat pay, a pay of calm, a pay of rest, a pay of sleep. The mangrove value, storm save, a save of calm, a save of rest, a save of sleep. The ocean's intrinsic worth, beyond price, a worth of calm, a worth of rest, a worth of sleep. The child wonder, tide pool touch, a touch of calm, a touch of rest, a touch of sleep. The adult awe, whale breach, a breach of calm, a breach of rest, a breach of sleep. The ocean's call, return always, a return of calm, a return of rest, a return of sleep. The sunset sail, horizon dream, a dream of calm, a dream of rest, a dream of sleep. The morning surf, a ride of calm, a ride of rest, a ride of sleep. The ocean's therapy, a mind of calm, a mind of rest, a mind of sleep. The salt air, a calm of calm, a calm of rest, a calm of sleep. The negative charge, mood lift, a lift of calm, a lift of rest, a lift of sleep. The ocean's rhythm, a sink of calm, a sink of rest, a sink of sleep. The Theta wave, creative flow, a flow of calm, a flow of rest, a flow of sleep. The Delta deep, sleep restore, a restore of calm, a restore of rest, a restore of sleep. The ocean's vast, ego dissolve, a dissolve of calm, a dissolve of rest, a dissolve of sleep. The interconnected, one breathe, a breathe of calm, a breathe of rest, a breathe of sleep. The ancient pull, womb return, a return of calm, a return of rest, a return of sleep. The future hope, protect now, and now of calm, and now of rest, and now of sleep. The gentle close, eyes shut, a shot of calm, a shot of rest. Sleep, the final drift. Dream begin, a begin of calm, a begin of rest, a begin of sleep. The ocean holds you safe, a safe of calm, a safe of rest, and you are gone, gone into the arms of the sea, gone into the arms of sleep, gone into the arms of the universe itself, where all is one, where all is calm, where all is rest, where all is sleep. And in this sleep, your brain clears beta amyloid, your cells repair DNA, your immune system strengthens, your memories consolidate, your hormones balance, your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, your muscles relax, your mind dreams, your body heals, your soul restores. The ocean knows this, has always known this, has been doing this for billions of years, and now you are part of it, part of the great blue cycle, part of the great sleep cycle, part of the great calm. Let go completely now. Let the ocean take you. Let sleep take you. Let the night take you. Let the dreams take you. Let the peace take you. Let the calm take you. Let the rest take you. Let the sleep take you. You are safe. You are held. You are home. Sleep deep. Well, the ocean sings you to sleep and you are gone. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.